Welcome to a new video. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. The first story is called Bathroom Break. Last week I was working from home one day and got up to use the bathroom and make a cup of coffee. This took only 10 minutes. I get back to my computer to a bunch of messages from my boss, getting increasingly nasty about something and why I wasn't answering quick enough for her. I send a message back with whatever it was she needed to know and apologizing for not getting back to her soon enough. When she finally answered me about half an hour later, she said if I'm not going to be at my computer for any amount of time, I need to send an email to everyone in my office, including high-level executives, that I'll be unavailable for this amount of time and why. So that's what I've been doing. My normal phrasing for the message is, I'll be unavailable from this time to this time as I'm going to use the bathroom, make some coffee, etc. Every single person in my office has told me it's fine and I don't need to tell them when I'm going to be gone for a few minutes, where I then forward them the original exchange between me and my boss and apologize but say this is what my direct report has told me to do, and this is the result if I don't. They all hate her as much as I do now. The next story is called Give You What You Asked For. I used to work in a tech store. You could reserve items online and you'd have 2 days to collect it before it went back on the shelves and anyone could buy it. You can also order items to the store, but you have to pay. This means we use different systems to look up reservations and orders. It's also worth noting that I'm female, young and short, so lots of customers think they can intimidate me into doing what they want and don't always take me seriously. This takes place on a fairly typical day of retail, about an hour before the end of my shift. Nothing, in particular, had happened, until this jerk walked in. I want my speaker. Okay, sir. Was it a reservation or an order? Just give me my speaker. I decided to just try reservations and see if that works. Okay, could I get your surname, please? It's Jerk. I check and it was a reservation, but it had expired over a week ago. Okay, Mr. Jerk, it seems your reservation has expired, but I'll check if we still have any. You better have one. I spend loads of money here. If you messed up and sold it to someone else, I will call trading standards. I decided to ignore his anger. Okay, you're in luck, we have 3 left in stock. Then stop being so lazy and get it over here already. You've wasted enough of my time. I go get the speaker. One of my co-workers hovers around the counter, ready to step in, as I bring the speaker to Jerk. I notice the brand of the speaker had an offer that isn't advertised and you have to put through manually. Despite the fact that he was a jerk, and I don't have to add the discount, I do it anyway. Okay, so the speaker brand is on offer right now. So with that discount, your total is £39. No, it isn't. You got the wrong speaker. The one I ordered is £59. This was £59, but I added a discount. Don't lie to me, you stupid dog. You're trying to trick me into getting a bad speaker because you got the wrong one. Get me the £59 speaker, you idiot. This is why women shouldn't work with tech, they don't know what they're doing. Yes, he really said that. My coworker started to get angry. Listen, sir. But I was seeing a chance to do something better. Don't worry, coworker. I'll get the £59 speaker. I give my coworker a grin as I walk off. I go back to the cage where the speakers were kept, unlock the door, put the speaker back and immediately pick the exact same speaker up again, before walking up to the counter. I then proceed to ring up the speaker without the discount. Here you go, sir. Sorry for the confusion. About time. He pays and leaves. My coworker had to hold back a burst of laughter as the jerk paid. The third story is called You Need to Wait. A long time ago, back when I was in elementary school, I went to an after-school daycare service in the school itself for a few hours while my dad was at work. Now, as a kid and even now, I loved to drink chocolate milk. One of my earliest sentences actually was, I want chocolate milk. That's how much I loved it. And this daycare I went to took place in the cafeteria, where we would stand in line to get our snacks. I would get me some chocolate milk and just drink it as happy as can be. Soon, I'd run out, as natural as can be. Well, they had all that chocolate milk in the cafeteria, why not try to get some more? Most of the cafeteria ladies working liked me. I was a sweet kid after all. And they loaded me up with another carton of the good stuff. However, there were a few that weren't so easygoing, and would gleefully deny me what I felt was rightfully mine. No, you can't have any more. If we give it to you, then the other kids won't have any. You'll have to wait until snack time is over. We'll put the leftovers on a table, so you kids can have more. Now, this sounds perfectly reasonable until you realize they had a ton of leftovers. There would be about 20 drinks left over at the end. Maybe 1 or 2 would be snatched up by a few kids, but that was it. So, I'd get my second one about that time, and promptly teleported it into the deep recesses of the bottomless pit known as a young boy's stomach. However, merely 2 chocolate milks would not sustain me. No, I needed more. I tried to grab a third, and was scolded for it. You've already had 2. Don't be greedy. You have to wait until everyone is done if you want any more. Don't let me catch you doing this again, or else you'll be banned from getting more ever again. I was furious. However, I was also smart. I went to every kid there. Every single one. I asked them all, are you done? Do you want any more chocolate milk? And if they wanted some, they'd tell me, and I'd get them one. I may have given out another 2 or 3, but there were easily 9 left at the end of this, and every kid was happy. I drank all 9 of those chocolate milks, staring at the cafeteria lady the entire time. She watched me with disbelief written all over her face. It was glorious. It was wonderful. It was perfect. I threw up. The next story is called Write Only the Exact Times. At the production lines, whenever something has to be cleaned or changed, we have to write the duration, the start time and end time, into the log. The problem is, whenever a disturbance, repair or maintenance lasts longer than 30 minutes, we have to relay that to a supervisor and tell them so that they can pass it on to everyone in management. Usually, we just write 30 minutes for everything that isn't important to avoid reporting to our boss. We always report the important changes, but for things like cleaning, it just seems like unnecessary work for everyone involved. So a few weeks ago, my boss came down to the shop floor and we had to change a filter at the line. Now, this isn't hard to do, but it takes a long time to disassemble the necessary parts, change the filter and then reassemble everything. We finished everything in 40 minutes and continued production. We went ahead and wrote 30 minutes into the log, and our boss came over and was furious after seeing the book and how we deceived him and falsified documents with our work. The logbook wasn't official like contracts or protocols, it was simply a recommendation by the management to help keep an eye on problems that got integrated into our working process, so everyone naturally just does it since it's been around for 5 years now. He demanded that we write the exact times from now on and have everyone present sign them. Before we could even ask him if that included everything, he was already out the door. So we did. Whenever we cleaned anything, we recorded the time and then sent a notification to our boss and brought him the paperwork that involved where you had to justify why whatever you did took over 30 minutes. He then had to mail everything to the floor manager and his colleagues. Every time. So even if we just cleaned the floor next to the machines, we reported to him. The facility is roughly 10,000 square meters, so cleaning can take a while. Within 2 weeks, he came down to the shop floor to tell us to do it like we did before, since his boss started to inquire about the increase of reports and the unnecessary paperwork he was sending. The 5th story is called Not a Customer. Virtually all restrooms in downtown Denver require a purchase to use the bathroom. Not a big deal to me, and I have no problem abiding by that rule. Yesterday, I took the wife and kids downtown to shop around and eat dinner. We stopped in a little store where my wife bought a purse for just under $200. We left, and about 30 minutes later, my daughter needed to use the restroom. We happened to be close to the same store, so we went into there to the same employee who rang us up to ask to use the restroom. She said we'd have to make a purchase. I had my receipt and showed I did make a purchase. She was the one who rang us up. She argued that we'd have to make a purchase again now to be considered customers to use the restroom. My daughter was struggling, so I grabbed a chapstick off the counter and bought that, while the employee gave me attitude like she just pulled one over on me. She gave me the passcode and my wife handed me her new purse and went to the restroom with our daughter. The moment she closed the door, I turned back to the cashier and demanded a refund on both the chapstick and the purse. She argued that I couldn't do that, but I pointed to her sign saying there is a 7-day return policy, no questions asked. I took a picture of it with my phone and asked if she wanted to process the refund, or I'll just have my credit card institute do a chargeback and get my money that way. She silently processed the returns, just as my girls returned. She tried to say something to my wife about me returning the purse, and my wife replied after her attitude, she didn't want it anymore anyway. The next story is called, We Are No Bank. Despite the big bold sign written in such a way that everyone could understand it, almost everyone with $100 notes thinks they don't need a bank and will just go to us to get that big bill broken down. Well, it keeps wiping out our tills when they raise a fuss, and eventually, they called corporate. Their response was to have us rescind the policy and carry more money in the tills. Obviously, they have never worked a till in their lives. Otherwise, they would know why we don't carry huge amounts of money in the register. But they didn't tell us we needed any specific notes. We go to the bank and their mouths twist into a grin when we tell them what we had planned. We get dozens of $1 and $5 notes and wait. The first jerk walks in and smugly places down a $100 note. His change is $95. Here we go. He gets 19 $5 notes. He asks where the $20 notes are and I tell him, we are out. People keep paying with big notes and wipe out the smaller notes fast. The second one comes in and pays for a 50-cent cookie with a $50 note. When he gets 9 $5 notes, he says he wanted the 20s. I inform him that he could always go to a bank. The last story is called, Not Allowed to End the Call. This happened years ago. I've spent a large portion of my work life working in call centers, or in positions adjacent to call centers. Early on, I was at one of the more classically toxic call centers. Lots of micromanagement, no real channels to pass feedback up to decision makers, nothing really mattered, except for the surveys and performance indicators. And which performance indicator was the priority changed from week to week. There were issues with agents hanging up really early in a call and claiming it was a disconnect, and similar avoidance, so management changed our phone system and made it literally impossible for any of us to actually hang up a call. If we got an abusive caller or a similar problem, we were supposed to let our team leads know, but the team leads really never did anything about the yellers or perverts. Because I turned up on time and didn't cause problems, I got promoted into our second tier pretty quickly. You know, the people who you actually talk to when you demand a supervisor. My actual access didn't change, just broadened the scope of work I had to do a bit. Which includes calling other businesses and customers from time to time while sorting out the problem. I quickly discovered that one of our vendors, who I had to call regularly, had the same lockdown that we had. I can't disconnect, they can't disconnect. Being, you know, someone with work ethic and initiative, I just used my task manager to force a disconnect, so we could get back to work. But apparently that shows up in their tracking and I got yelled at because I'm not supposed to ever hang up on a customer. Next time I had to call that vendor, I told them that I wasn't allowed to force a hang up anymore. I told my actual supervisor this call would probably go long because neither of us was allowed to hang up. He said he'd look into it and proceeded to do nothing. So, after wrapping up the problem, I chatted with the other agent for a bit and proceeded to work on homework for the rest of my shift, a hair over 5 hours. At the end of my shift, I transferred the call to the duty manager, so I could clock out and go home. Only had to do that 3 or 4 more times before they adjusted the system to let Tier 2 folk hang up. I had an amazing ready time ratio those weeks, though my handle times were crap. Got a lot of reading done too. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.